Welcome to another bonus episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Shabak alongside Dalton Wasson doing our weekly check-in on the Heisman Trophy race right now, heading into Week 12. And Dalton, usually we, break down the top five or so. Well, now there seems to be, at least in the betting odds, a three-player race that's kind of separated themselves, with Cam Ward kind of dropping down a little bit after the loss of Georgia Tech, with Travis Hunter leading the betting odds right now, Dillon Gabriel being in second in the betting odds. Ashton Jeanty is in third. You can see right there according to DraftKings. Travis Hunter's plus 110, Gabriel's plus 330, Jeanty's plus 350, Cam Ward plus 700, and then Curtis Rourke, the Indiana quarterback, at plus 1,500. So with those three, at least in the betting odds, seeming to separate themselves from everyone else right now, we thought it'd be fun to state the case for each of those three guys as to why they deserve the Heisman Trophy this year.
Yeah, no, I think you have obviously two great players at the top, and it's a little bit different than what you usually get with just the quarterback race for it, especially like we had last year. But Travis Hunter basically doing the work of two players in one, and then Ashton Jeanty, well, maybe doing the work of two running backs in one when you look at what he's been doing for Boise State, and they're on track to make the playoff if they keep winning. And then Gabriel, I mean, the case really is he's the quarterback of the best team in the country, right? And I think we could get in some arguments about any of them and the merits of it and level of competition and positions and all that stuff, but it's what makes it a fascinating Heisman race this year.
Absolutely. So start off with the current betting favorite to win the award, and I think the one that you and I would agree with should win the Heisman Trophy as of right now. That is Colorado all-around superstar Travis Hunter. So Dawn, state the case. Why does Travis Hunter deserve the Heisman Trophy as of right now?
All right, so from a PFF standpoint, first of all, among wide receivers, he's seventh in the nation in receiving grade. And among cornerbacks, he's fourth in the nation in coverage grade. He's got an argument as the best player at both positions, and he's in one body, right? And I mean, you talk about a guy who's on pace for over 1,100 yards receiving. He's already got 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups. He's on pace to give up less than 200 yards this year. He's only given up 125 yards in coverage this season, and he missed, a game and a half or so. So maybe that's maybe slightly tilted, but it wouldn't be many more than that because teams know just don't throw at him. And Colorado even runs a ton of man-to-man coverage, and he still lights out. Look, Travis is the best football player in the country, right? When you just think about everything that he does, playing 120, 130 snaps a game, and being the dominant force on a team on both sides of the ball, when every opponent knows that he is, right? And I know he's playing with Shedeur Sanders, who's an elite quarterback, and they have other weapons, but at the end of the day, and it might come down to, for especially Jeanty and Hunter, if Colorado makes the playoff, we know Travis Hunter is their best player, right? And I think that could play a big part in it is, okay, he, along with Shedeur, along with some other guys and improvements on defense and all that stuff, but he's the best player on a team that made the playoff and in that scenario would have won the Big 12, and especially after the comeback that they made from earlier in the season with 2 early season losses, I think Hunter's got a great case as long as he stays healthy.
He really does, honestly. You look at the stats right now, he is 4th among Power 4 receivers in catches. He is currently 9th in receiving yards among Power 4 receivers, and he's tied for 2nd in receiving touchdowns. So by all accounts, he's been one of the best receivers in college football this year. And then, like you mentioned, he's a top 5 corner in the country as well. And I know, a lot of people say, well, he's not the best at one, well, it's not why he can win the Heisman. No, that doesn't really matter when he's that good at both. And like you said, playing, 130 snaps a game, basically, at both as well. That's what makes it so rare. And I know there's so many people that try to compare him to Charles Woodson or other two-way players we've seen before. Even Charles Woodson was not doing this kind of stuff, right? He was not doing the stuff that Travis Hunter is doing. I truly believe Travis Hunter is the greatest two-way player we've ever seen in college football history. And when past two-way players like Charles Woodson have won this Heisman Award before, when you got a guy that's the greatest ever to do it, I think he deserves the Heisman Trophy. When there's not really a top quarterback year that we could be talking about right now, in my opinion, I think Travis Hunter deserves the Heisman Trophy. Let's talk about the other players, though, Dawn. Starting off with Dillon Gabriel, who's currently 2nd in betting odds and leads all quarterbacks in terms of Heisman Trophy betting odds right now. What is the case for him to be the Heisman Trophy winner at the end of the year?
I mean, the main case is that he's just the quarterback on the best team in the country, right? And he's had a fantastic season, right? He's completed 73% of his passes. He's got 22 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He's got an 89 passing grade that's 6th best in the country. I mean, I get the idea. It's just I think that's the only case you can really make is he's the quarterback on the best team in the country, and he was really good against Ohio State, and then again against Michigan he had a 90 passing grade, but Michigan's not the same as they were last year. We know this. I mean, it's just Gabriel we knew he would come in and have a great year, right? Oregon's the most loaded offense in the country coming into the season. We had it as like, okay, he's supposed to come in here and do everything that Bo Nix did. And I'm not going to say he hasn't, but I also am not sure that there's other quarterbacks that wouldn't be just as deserving. I know he just lost a game, but I'm surprised Cam Ward has dropped as much as he has, right? When you look at his numbers next to Gabriel's, I mean, Gabriel has 22 touchdowns. Cam Ward has 32, right? And their passing grades are in the same neighborhood. Ward has almost twice as many big-time throws. I think that's really, if you're making the case for Gabriel, you're doing the thing where you still think wins are just a quarterback stat, and that's where it is. I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, I guess the quarterback of the number one team in the country is gonna have a case, but I think it would require some sort of drop off from these first two guys in front of him, because I look at, he's got the same numbers with less yards than Jackson Dart. He's got less of everything than Cam Ward. He's got very, very similar numbers, about identical numbers to Shedeur Sanders. I mean, the case is really just the winning, and if assuming they finish with an undefeated record.
Yeah, honestly, and I think the big argument too, and I know this is a thing that people care about, is the Heisman moment for players, and that's a big thing people talk about, even though it probably shouldn't be a talking point, honestly. But if you talk about Heisman moments, Dillon Gabriel's game against Ohio State is his Heisman moment. Like you mentioned, he had 85.7 passing grade. He was the best player on the field in that game. And what was, at this point, the biggest game of the college football season so far. Because right now, Oregon's number 1 in the country, Ohio State's number 2 in the country. So that was the biggest game of the year. And in that game, Dillon Gabriel was the reason why Oregon emerged victorious. So that was kind of his Heisman moment. And like you said, they're undefeated right now. They're the number 1 team in the country. He's played outstanding football all year. Anytime the quarterback of the number 1 team is on the number 1 team in the country is going to have a great Heisman case. But especially if they have a really good year, he's had a really good year. Now, has he been the best quarterback in college football? I don't think either of us would say he has been so far. But he has been a really good quarterback on the best team in the country so far. That's the case for Dillon Gabriel. Now, does that deserve the Heisman Trophy? I think you and I would agree, no, right now. But he probably will and probably should get invited to New York based on that alone. Let's talk about the final player, though, Dalton. That is Ashton Jeanty. I'll take the lead on this one because I think it's just kind of easy. Just look at the numbers, dude. This guy is just putting up historic stuff for a running back right now. He has 1,733 rushing yards. It's about more than 400 more than any other running back in college football. He has 3 more rushing touchdowns than any other running back in college football. 96.4 rushing grade this year. That would be the highest we've ever seen for a running back as well. And then diving into the advanced numbers, 1,261 yards after contact. He's going to shatter Jonathan Taylor's yards after contact record. He's also going to break Bijan Robinson's forced missed tackle record. Right now, he has 93 forced missed tackles. That's 23 more than any other running back in America. And that yards after contact number is about 400 more than any other running back in America right now. So that's the case for Ashton Jeanty. And also, I would also say that anyone saying, oh, we plays in the Mountain West is why he's putting up these great numbers. He ran for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns against Oregon, the number 1 team in America. So he's been doing this against basically anyone he goes against right now. That's the case for Ashton Jeanty. That, like Travis Hunter having a historic year for a two-way player, Ashton Jeanty's also kind of having a historic year for a running back.
Yeah, no, he is. And look, let's take a 13-game pace. Let's assume he's playing in the Mountain West title game, right? Yeah. I don't think Boise would fall enough to fall out of that. But 13-game pace. He's on pace for 2,500 yards, 33 touchdowns, over 1,800 yards after contact, 134 missed tackles, and 112 first downs. I mean, the pace is ridiculous. That would be the 4th most rushing yards in a season ever if he just stood at that 2,503. Then he might have a chance in the playoff if he gets there to break Barry Sanders' record. I think he'd be right around 100. It's 160 or 180 yards behind that. He would at least have a chance. And to your point, the Oregon point that you made at the big game there, 259 yards and 4 touchdowns against Washington State, which, let's not forget, was a Pac-12 team, or I guess
still top 25
I guess
right
still
now.
Is a Pac-12 team and the number 18 team in the country. I think they are. Last year, and I know it's not a last year award, it's not a career lifetime achievement award, but 100 total yards against Washington, national runner-up, against UCF, pretty good team, against UCLA, had an elite defense last year. He would be the best back in the country on any team. And I think the biggest thing, I was trying to find for Jeanty what is like the merit, of past Heisman winning running backs, right? Especially of the very few of recent times. And you know what the merit honestly is? It's just being lucky enough to be in a year where there's not a quarterback or two that dominates the whole thing, right? You look at Derrick Henry. Let's go through 13 games, basically, through conference title weekend, or in the old days before you had that, let's just say a bowl game. Derrick Henry, 1,922 yards, 23 touchdowns. Now, Jeanty's got just about that right now. Mark Ingram, 1,542 yards and 15 touchdowns, okay? Reggie Bush, even, 1,740 and 16 touchdowns. But you're looking at years where, okay, Derrick Henry's main competition for the Heisman was Christian McCaffrey, another running back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who should have won it, by the way.
McCaffrey was second. You could argue it, but it would at least have been a running back either way. Mark Ingram's primary competition was Toby Gerhart. Okay. The last one, Reggie Bush, was the one guy who won it going against other quarterbacks, okay, including his own teammate, Matt Leinart. So I think you just have to get to a point where you have to be lucky enough to have a year like this where a quarterback isn't the clear winner. Now, if he loses out to Travis Hunter, so be it. Travis Hunter is special, right? But I look at, something I noticed today, I actually never knew this before. Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin had 3 straight years with at least 1,900 rushing yards, 2,002 of them, and he never finished higher than 5th. J.K. Dobbins had 2,000 yards in 2019. He didn't make the top 4. Melvin Gordon had, I think, did he set the single-season record at the time? 2,587. He didn't set the
no.
But it's like top 3 of all time. And he finished second in 2014. Behind, I believe it was Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
You just have to be lucky enough to have a year like this, because I don't think there's an actual statistical cutoff that the voters have where they go, oh, yeah, the running back was the best player in the country. It just has to be, well, we'll pick one because there's not a quarterback. And I think Jeanty might be lucky enough to have this be a year like that.
Yeah. These guys still Travis Hunter to fight against right now. And I think you and I both agree that our top 2 would still be Hunter and Jeanty, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could see the argument for either. I got to be honest with you, I might still have Cam Ward 3rd.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the numbers are so far, the traditional numbers are so far ahead of everybody else. And honestly, didn't he still throw for like 340 and 3 touchdowns in the Georgia Tech game? I mean, is one fumble going to cost him at least a chance to go to New York or a chance at a Heisman?
I know.
Because, I mean, we've talked about it with Miami. He's the only reason they win. Then but now, if he goes and tees off on their last couple opponents and in the ACC title game, he's going to go to New York and he's going to at least have a shot to win it. He might even, I mean, next 3 games, he's going to end up with somewhere around 4,500 yards. I was looking at his numbers. I thought his numbers actually are very similar to Michael Penix's numbers from last year. And Penix finished, 2nd or 3rd, was it?
Yeah.
He was in the top 3. I think that's a good comp for it. I think he would need some of these other guys to fall off. But no, Hunter and Jeanty should be the top 2 pretty clearly right now.
I think the 3 that we talked about today, I'd be pretty surprised if they're not in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. I want to throw out some other guys, though, because they usually have at least 4 finalists that go to New York. Cam Ward is obviously very much still in the mix. I could very easily see him being, and obviously he was 4th in Heisman odds. I want to throw out Curtis Fork. Also right now, I think if he beats Ohio State, there's a great chance he goes to New York for the Heisman ceremony. He currently leads all quarterbacks in the nation in passing grade this year. And another guy, too, Dalton, that I think really helped his case by beating Georgia. I think Jackson Dart's having a hell of a year as well. Now, the Kentucky loss ultimately might keep him from winning the Heisman Trophy. I think if they actually beat Kentucky, you'd have a really good case at it. But I think Jackson Dart's another guy that if they went out, I could see him also getting invited to New York. But to me, the trophy still comes down to, 1, I think, is Travis Hunter. And then 2, if Colorado or Travis Hunter slips up a little bit, then Ashton Jeanty could take over. And then if nothing else, then you look at the quarterbacks with Cam Ward, with Dillon Gabriel, with Curtis Fork, with Jackson Dart. Those are the guys I would look at. Shedeur Sanders is still obviously up there as well. But that's how I kind of would look at it right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If there was ever a year a quarterback doesn't win it, again, it would be this one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's what we got for our weekly Heisman Trophy race update. Make sure you guys comment below what you think the Heisman Trophy should be coming down to right now as we head into the final 3 weeks of the college football regular season. And of course, we're doing our live review show on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Make sure you guys tune in for that, for our breakdown of all the biggest games in college football that probably will significantly affect the Heisman Trophy race as well. So for Dalton Wassman, for our producer Eli back there, I'm Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.